And we are recording. So, hello everybody out there from my channel. I have a special guest today. Very excited to introduce. And this show is all gonna be all about the families of incarcerated people. So, all you viewers out there that are getting ready to go to prison, you got families that are gonna be left behind. And I know some of your families already watched, so please have your families watch this video when we're done with it. There is help for them. They don't have to be alone anymore in the world. So I want to introduce Ann Edenfield Sweet. Now, she is the CEO and the founder of Wings for Life International. She's an author. She wrote a book called Family Arrested: How to Survive the Incarceration of a Loved One. She's been through it herself. She's going to tell you all about her. And for you families out there, this is just what you've been looking for. This is vital information. You don't have to go through this alone anymore while your loved ones are locked up. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean. I'm thrilled to meet you. I'm thrilled that you're doing what you're doing, because the men need to get all their questions answered and find out from you what prison is actually like. And I'm so glad that we got connected, because now I could share from our perspective for the family's perspective. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint because I think the pictures are more exciting than just looking at me. And so I'm going to go through and talk about Wings. It'll explain why we do what we do, a little bit about me, but at any time when you've got questions, just ask me. So I started Wings for Life International, and our mission is transforming lives to break that generational cycle of incarceration. You're going to hear some statistics coming up that are going to be horrifying for you. I started Wings in 1995. So this is our 26th year. I can't believe I've been doing this so long. And we're all about opening doors. Let's get those prison doors open and get you guys home, but opening hearts. And how are we going to do that? So a little bit about me and why I got into this in the first place is my first husband, who was an airline captain, and I had worked for the airlines as a flight attendant. One day, I got a call that my husband had been arrested, thrown down on the ground outside a real estate office that we had. I was home with my 4 little boys. The oldest was 7. I had a baby on oxygen with failure to thrive. And I was home breastfeeding him to keep him alive. And now the call, my husband was arrested. And like probably most family members, you don't have a clue. I had no idea what in the world to do. I ended up writing a book. It's called Family Arrested. And as you could see on the cover, and you could see the photo that I used of me with my 4 boys without my husband. This was a picture taken when I was youth director in a church. That was a church directory photo. And I purposely silhouetted the faces. I did not want color of skin or anything to show, or any faces, because when somebody goes to prison, it doesn't matter where we came from, what we look like, our educational level, what side of town do we live on. It doesn't matter. We are all lumped together, and really considered by society kind of the scum of the earth. And then I ended up putting bars on this book, and I called the book Family Arrested, because we were arrested too. Every family that has an incarcerated loved one, I was stopped in my tracks. Everything that I knew changed. Overnight, I ended up with a huge IRS lien, 2.5 million IRS lien. I had 40 lawsuits that I was trying to deal with. I had this baby on oxygen. All our bank accounts were seized and frozen. I didn't have any money. And so I couldn't even pay for my baby's oxygen. It was a very, very difficult time. So I ended up writing this book. Then I started Wings. And in fact, this slide I should change out. We just got the 2021 top rated nonprofit award as well. So I'm very
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We've worked hard, and when you're dealing with people in the incarceration field, everybody looks at us at a negative. They're really looking at us. So we have to be, I tell our volunteers and everybody that works with us, we have to be so squeaky clean. We have to make sure that we are doing everything right, because everybody assumes that we're going to do it the illegal way. And so we're really proud of some of these awards. The Guide Star Platinum Seal of Approval, that's the highest you can get with the nonprofit world. The 100 out of 100 with Charity Navigator, the vote of confidence. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty amazed by that.
Yeah, I'll
We've
say.
gotten
I'll say.
additional awards. Probably the one that to the law enforcement world is probably the most important is the American Probation and Parole Association actually gave us the National Award of Excellence in Crime Prevention, because we're trying to prevent any of our loved ones to go to prison again. And so I'll get into all of that. So these are some of the other awards that we won. I've done tons of work in Ohio. And so we're really proud of that Impact Award too, from the state of Ohio. I've been into almost every prison in Ohio, not all of them, but almost everyone. And certainly all their juvenile facilities. They've closed a lot of them down now, but over the years, I've done all this work for so many years.
Wow.
So again, our mission, transforming lives. And so what we do is we do a variety of things, and it might be off the screen a little bit to the right there, but in 1995, I got a grant from Prison Fellowship. I said, I don't want to just give a gift at Christmas time, because we were a member of a church for 12 years. When my husband got arrested, not a soul called us from that church. And so I had to find another church. So the last thing that I wanted to do was tell everybody my husband's in prison and now I want to join your church.
See, I don't mean to interrupt, but that almost sounds terrible that the church abandoned you. I thought church, Jesus was forgiving and all that, and I hate to interrupt, but a church can do that. Just
Oh, wait. Okay. Remember I showed you that picture of being the youth director in the church?
Right,
Well,
right.
my husband had signed a plea agreement, a conspiracy to import drugs. He ended up in a federal prison down by El Paso called La Tuna. And so he had a 15-year sentence. He at 6 years, he called me one day. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but that's okay. We'll just jump back and forth and all these things. He called me one day and he said, I'm coming home. I said, you're coming home? It's 6 years. Imagine, Sean, if you got called into the warden's office and you're going home and you got all these years left. What's going on here? So I was just thrilled. So I ran into the staff meeting. I've been hired as a youth director in this church, the second church that I joined. And when I went in, I said, my husband's coming home from prison. I can't believe it. He's coming home. And the new pastor, not the pastor who had hired me, but the new pastor in front of everybody said, well, then I can no longer be your pastor.
Well,
and I thought
why?
It was a joke.
I mean, what?
Everybody asked why. I don't know why. I don't know why.
That doesn't sound very Christian to me.
I didn't think it sounded very Christian to me either, but I'm the wife of an inmate, so I'm already feeling like the scum of the earth. Right. And now this pastor, and I had worked with him for 1.5 years too, if you can imagine. So if he felt that way all that time working with me, we had 250 youth in this program, including my own 4 boys. And now I've got a pastor that says he can't be my pastor. Wow. So obviously I had to leave that church. So the last thing that I wanted to do when I went to Prison Fellowship is do a big deal about, and some churches do this, and believe me, I've talked to Chuck Colson, I've talked to so many Angel Tree leaders. They have that wonderful program, Angel Tree, but don't do it. We had a Colorado director one year, and she told me that they had moved from Oregon. So her son wouldn't have the stigma of dad in prison in Oregon, because everybody knew in Oregon. So they had moved to Colorado and they were so excited to be there. But her husband had put her son's name down on the Angel Tree list. And so they had joined this big church. They were so excited. And they got to the church one Sunday and come to find out it was Angel Tree Sunday. And what they did is they called every child up front. Now, the church, out of the goodness of their hearts, they thought they were doing the most wonderful thing, opening the door.
Right.
You're welcome. Here you are.
So now those kids are going to
But
get bullied at school,
yeah,
cyber bullied, and on
exactly.
and teased. And with
Exactly.
social media, these kids, when they get cyber bullied, I mean, there's suicide
Oh,
sometimes kids go, oh, it's crazy, man.
well, this boy who was excelling in this in Colorado ended up in the juvenile detention facility because who knows what happened at school, because now this was a huge mega church, and so everybody that yeah, well, yeah, spreads like wildfire, you know that. And
Yeah.
he was just the start of ninth grade, so the whole high school, everybody knew. So here he was, shamed. So he ended up in the juvenile system, and he really has struggled. This young man now, actually, he joined the military. He was able to get into the military, thank heaven. And that's the last that I've heard of him. So I hope that he's successful. But I tell churches, you know, as the last thing I wanted to do is go in and say, hey, hi, here I am with four boys, you know,
Yeah.
four boys, son of a prisoner, four boys, sons of prisoners. You don't want to go into church and say that. People are going to just look at you. Oh my gosh, the pencil is missing. The
Right.
book is missing. Who took it? Well, Ann's boys did.
Yeah.
Of course, the
How could you
children.
marry someone like that? God, must be something wrong with you too, right? That kind of
Well,
thing.
exactly. And then now I had this pastor that obviously had looked at me for a year and a half that way. So I had to leave the church. But I ended up going to prison fellowship. And so I got a small grant from them. And I said, I want to do something that I learned about when I was youth director in the church. Because when I started that youth program, we had 8 youth in the church. And in 5 years, we had over 250 youth in this children in this program. It was so relational, so much fun. I mean, we all loved it. And so I said, let's build relationship. People don't go to church to get a gift. They go to a church to be welcomed and received, and the gift of acceptance for who you are, not who your relative is in prison or you've been in prison. You just want to go and be accepted. You want to be Sean. You don't want to go as, well, I'm number so-and-so, whatever. And so anyway, I went to prison fellowship and I said, how about if I do a party? And we called them parties for years. Then we had a warden one time say, I don't have a party in my prison.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always loved to tell him, but he was not the kind of warden that thought this was funny. But I said, you know, we've gotten comments from people who say that's the best party I ever went to. I was clean, I was sober, and I prayed with my family. And I say, oh my gosh, that's the kind of party I want to have. But we changed it to family days. So I
Family
said,
day.
let's do
Okay, that's good. That's a
family
good term.
day. Yeah, of course. So let's do a family day out in the community. So we started with Christmas because Angel Tree does Christmas gifts. So I'll get into what a party looks like in just a second, okay?
So real
Then
quick,
into
Angel Tree, they give presents to inmates. I've kind of heard of them, but I don't know what
no,
they.
not they give they ask inmates to give uh, the Angel Tree representatives and the prison fellowship representatives the names of your children. So let's just say you had 4.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
okay. So my husband said I've got, but he didn't. He never signed us
Right.
up for
That way
this.
the
He never
children
knew
can
about this
still have a
program.
Christmas present, even though
Then
he's locked
somebody
up.
in the local community from a local church buys a gift for somebody and gives it to him.
Okay,
So I
okay.
said, well, let's not do it that way. Let's not do it that way. Let's just have a party sponsored by area churches. So it's not just one denomination, so it's everybody. And we did it in New Mexico. We did it at a big, huge Catholic church because 85% of our inmates, if they claim that they have any kind of religious affiliation, is Roman Catholic. I'm not Roman Catholic, but I said, oh my gosh. So I called a Catholic church, big, huge one. And we were allowed to do it there. They were so kind, and they embraced everything. In fact, they started a youth program in their church based on this Logos ministry that I had been doing. But that's another side note here. But anyway, so we had this party, and then at the end, oh, by the way, here is a gift. Take it home, hide it so your kids don't see it. So Christmas morning, you actually have a gift that comes on behalf of the inmate.
Okay.
Typically, see, like that big thing in Colorado that I was saying about, the kids get the gift right in the middle of the service. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to open the gift. Maybe it's December 15th. What happens on December 25th? They still don't have a gift to go under the tree. So,
and it's almost like they're showcasing the kids off too, like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
And the church doesn't feel that way. That I have to educate the churches because they don't know the shame that goes with this, but I do. And so when they hear me say it, then I could put it in the right perspective. Would you want your children up there to then be potentially bullied and everybody knows about their dad in prison? Or are you trying to be loving and kind and supportive? Jesus wouldn't have started talking about, oh, hey, bring all the children and prisoners forward. He just said, bring all the children forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, well, let me keep going, because a lot of these pictures will kind of describe these things. So in 2002, the Corrections Department in New Mexico said, I've heard about these family days. Would you do them in prisons? I said, oh my gosh, really? We get to go into prison and do this? I said, absolutely. So I'll show you pictures of that. Then in 2005, based off of my book, I realized I'm uniquely qualified. I could really help people. The How to Survive. The subtitle of my book is How to Survive the Incarceration of a Loved One. How are you going to get that job when you are married to somebody in prison? Nobody's hired me in all these years now that ultimately didn't get to know me. If they just read a resume and did a background check, married to this guy, and even then later divorced from this guy, but I'll get to that too. Okay, so 2005 started Wings for Life, and I'll get into what that stands for. I've done work in 20 states now so far, and we've got international programs. I've been to all over India, one end to the other, east and west, south, north. Kenya, every prison in Kenya, we were actually the first white people to ever get into a prison to bring the local Kenyan pastors into a prison. They had never been allowed to go in. I said, well, how do you do ministry? They invited us to go to do prison ministry. They thought it was going to be the family days on the outside. I said, oh no, we go in the prisons. So we ultimately got into every prison in Kenya. And now we have a very active program in Liberia.
Wow.
In fact,
that's got to be an amazing experience there. Wow.
Oh, it is. It is. So I don't have pictures of all of that, but okay. So this is what it looks like, a team going into a prison. We all wear matching shirts. Okay. This is actually a team that I had assembled, people in Dallas. I don't live in Dallas. You can see those rolling suitcases, I call it rolling duffel bags. I say we have a party in a bag because it's real simple. It's not that we're there to decorate the gym and make everything fancy. It's all about building relationships. So we play games. Now, you know, balloons are not allowed in prisons. They are for us because we're going to pop the balloon and we're going to play and bounce balloons and with tarps and have a good time. And it's all about building relationship with families that oftentimes you don't get to see. This is another prison in Texas. Actually, we couldn't get into the prison yet.
Oh, so look at that picture. I like that.
Isn't that an incredible picture on the outside? Yeah. And so here we are with the balloons. We're going to do a balloon pop there. So we're going to have fun with the kids before they ever get in. Who has fun going to prison?
Right. That's because that's scary.
In prison, it's very scary.
Yeah.
But we are going to turn this into, I always say, I want this to be the best visit they've ever had. And oftentimes this is the best that we've ever had.
It looks like you're doing that. Wow.
Now, this is all based off a biblical model, Acts 2:42. So what did the disciples do? They sang together. So we're going to sing together, but we're not just we're going to invite, if there's an inmate chaplain band, but we sing together. It's not a performance. A lot of prison ministry is performance, and the inmates are sitting there like this. And
Right. No, this is participation stuff. Yeah.
Everything is participation. The youth director and me comes out. We have all kinds of fun songs, shake a neighbor's hand, give a high five, pat a neighbor's back. Jesus is the friend. He's the friend next to you, being silly and fun, building relationship. But we always bring in little tiny, instruments and things. I pick up at the dollar store or whatever, and the inmates can be with their kids and join the band. Why not? Let's have fun.
Nice, nice, nice.
Then, okay, based on Acts 2:42, the disciples ate together, then or sang together, then they learned the scriptures.
Oh, look at
So,
that. How
so
cute.
that is
Oh,
a live nativity.
wow.
Those are some of our angel chorus right there. So you can't bring costumes into a prison, but you can bring fabric into a prison. So
Okay.
bring fabric in. Yeah.
I'm
They
even,
allow
I'm
us to
seeing
bring
the smiles on the inmates' faces and the kids are just, wow. That's great. Oh, man, that's just
oh,
heartwarming picture right there.
yeah, you got to go to our website. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures across all these different states and international photos of smiling inmates. Inmates don't smile very much. They smile at wings. So there they are. And so these dads are angels too. Just because they've got girls, they got to be an angel. Of
They're
course,
trying to get their
we
wings
also,
back.
they got
They're
to get their
trying to
wings
earn
back.
their wings
Oh,
back. Yeah, yeah.
you're going to see getting their wings back here in just a second.
That's what I'm trying to do.
This is it right here. This picture, that picture right there of a live nativity was done at a level 4 facility in New
a,
Mexico.
a level 4. You're kidding me.
Level
Wow.
4, 3 gang groups who were
Woo.
housed separately would have killed each other in the food
Right.
line, in the yard. There they were together and with their
Um,
families. The criteria was they had to come with their families. You could see our crazy costumes. I found out later the guy with the big star in the back,
okay,
I
yeah.
found out he was the head gang leader for the state of New Mexico.
Woo.
Did I know that? No. And there is one of the guys getting to touch and hold his little baby because, of course, they're visiting through glass.
Yeah.
They don't get to touch and hold. You could see Mary and Joseph there. She had her little baby, so we picked the mom with the youngest baby to be
How did you
Mary.
pull that off? How did you pull that off with the warden? Wow.
They invited us in
Wow.
because when you treat people, we have 2 rules at a family day. We treat everyone as a child of God. That means the warden, the correctional officers, the inmates, the families, the volunteers, everybody there, everyone is to be treated as a child of God. And the second thing is everybody has to participate. So you can't have people on the sidelines. If you got somebody in a wheelchair, walkers, speak a different language, we have to find a way to incorporate and include them. We don't want anybody to be left out. So here you can see these crazy little costumes. You can see sheep and shepherds and angels, and that you can see the wise people in the back. You can see some gold, and probably those blue. You see the blue crowns.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
are
incredible.
probably for Burger King, our Burger King crowns.
Yeah, so what? Yeah.
So the point is that everybody is gathered together as family. They're learning a Bible story, but they're part of it. And then we talk about, how did you feel to be part of this? We're talking about a story 2,000 years old. Is it relevant today? So that's what we do. And we do parables. We do, of course, Christmas and Easter. Holy Week, it's really great fun. We wave palm branches, then we get to he's on the cross and crucify him, and then we get to the resurrection. Christ is risen. So we go through the entire week of Holy Week, and we set up. Everybody is dressed in a costume in that one because they're all part of the village or part of the crucifium or part of the palm branch ceremony, whatever. So that's how we do that. And look at this picture. We do
Oh,
okay, these are 3, I don't know whose belongs to the 3 different rival gangs, but there were 5 gangs housed at this prison, but these guys represented 3 different gangs, and they all had to have children. They couldn't bring in brothers or dads, for heaven's sakes, because they would probably be bringing in other gang
yeah,
members.
yeah.
As long as they brought in their children, their wives, mothers bringing in children, they were allowed to come. So I said to the guy, so we do a game at the end. So I love to do human angels. So here is a bunch of junk That's old recycled stuff. You can see paper plates. We give them a paper plate. We had a whole bunch of tinsel. You can see the one guy kind of in the middle has tinsel hanging off a paper plate. And these are rival gang leaders here in the prison. And I said, okay, guys, put out your wings, stretch your wings, put your arms around each other. And let's you do an angel and wave to us. So there they are waving. The angels are waving to us.
Wow.
Level 4 angels. Yeah. In prison.
They called a truce that day. Yeah. Wow.
And I talked to him, and I said, what's more important to you? Is that gang the most important thing, or is it your family and your loved ones? Do you want to go home to your loved ones? This is what you can have when you go home. Otherwise, if you're part of the gang, you're going to be locked up like this the rest of your life. What is really most important to you?
Yeah, what is more important?
It's far more important. And they put down all what it was so amazing when we walked into the prison. I had never seen officers in their full gear. I had never seen it. I always say they look like Ninja Turtles. Oh my gosh, they had so much padding on. And so they had all the gear. They were ready for the riot of riots. At the end of the day, the officers were in the back of the gym. We were in a big gym. They were in the back of the gym, eating pizza, eating cookies, and laughing and talking and telling jokes, not even participating with us at all. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Because they realized that these men were going to behave. We were all going to be treated as children of God. That was we expected that, and they were going to do it. So anyway, okay, the third part is the fellowship. So, okay, fellowship is doing crafts and activities. So here we are with an inmate with his little one decorating a cookie. So we have alone time for the inmates. They can go make cards. We always do butterflies. We do them out of recycled newspaper. I started doing this over in India because I thought we have to do a craft that in a prison that they throw away. They threw away newspaper. So we make beautiful butterflies. We do accordion for it, folds and put 2 pieces of paper together and make butterflies. So we do cards, bookmarkers, because in the States, we give away a lot of books. Even in some of these foreign countries, we gave some books away. But make bookmarkers. So if your loved one in prison has a Bible or a book, grandma or the little one, your children have made the bookmarker to go in your Bible or in your book.
Yeah.
And then dad can or grandpa can make one, or brother can make one for the family members. So when they go home, they've got something made by him too. So anyway, but decorating cookies, all kinds of crafts. We do Cheerio necklaces. We always do Cheerio necklaces because they might be hungry. And so we string up Cheerios. And a lot of times inmates, they've been high in their whole lives and they haven't always interacted with their kids. So we have to
That's
give
right.
them
No, that's right. Even before they went to prison, they didn't interact with their children.
They didn't decorate cookies.
Right.
In fact, I've had to learn that I have to teach inmates how to decorate cookies. They don't know what to do because they never did it as a child.
Yeah.
Because no one ever did it with them. So I have to say, well, don't let that little one put that stick back into the main frosting. She's just frosting her cookie because we don't want to contaminate everybody's. And the sprinkles. And let them sprinkle, but we don't sprinkle on the floor. Yeah, sprinkle as many sprinkles as they want. I don't care how many colors they want. Who cares? You're there to have fun. So we do that. Then we eat together. Now, prisons oftentimes don't have enough tables. You can see in this picture, we didn't have tables. We're in a gym.
Right.
We had hundreds of people in this gym. So what are we going to do? We're going to put the chairs. And if we don't have enough chairs, we teach young men, preferably young men, to sit on the floor so the women and the elderly can sit in a chair.
Teaching them manners. I like that. Yeah.
We always teach manners. And then we teach manners about how are you going to eat. So the pizza, we pass to the left, you'll always be right. Take one piece and eat the whole crust before you take any more. Everybody gets to pick one cookie. We always give everybody a choice of 2 homemade cookies. So, but everybody gets to pick one cookie first. So everybody gets their first choice, then you get the second choice when it goes around again. So that the idea is they're sitting together, but they're not just sitting. Notice that that's not one family. You
that's
know,
not. Yeah, there's three mothers and different children. Yeah.
and different children. Now, you know, in a visit, you aren't allowed to talk to anybody else. Well,
Right.
at
You
Wings,
can't speak to the family next to you or anything. No.
yes. Well, at Wings, you can. So here
Nice.
we are, yes. So we are interacting and we have a placemat with questions that turns also into an evaluation. So we have questions there, and we'll put a volunteer in the group if we have enough. And there was probably a volunteer, and I went over her head when I got this picture. You could see a volunteer behind, kind of in the jade green shirt, kind of what I'm wearing right now.
I do. I see. Yeah.
Somebody, yeah. So we always wear shirts so you know exactly who the volunteers are, so you don't have to
Okay.
worry who's the volunteer and who's the family member. And so we try to put, if we have enough volunteers, one volunteer for every 9 people to lead the facilitation and the discussion. So now they're going to talk about, well, what did you do today that was so much fun? And one thing I like to do is, if it's Christmas time, talk about an angel in your life. Who's been important in your life and who's making a difference for you now? Ladies, in this picture, who's important to you now? Who made a difference? Was it grandma? You know, kids, who's important to you? Are your teachers helping you? And then we always like to ask, what do you want to do when you go home? And not just go home and hang out. That's a useless statement. Be specific. You want to go home and go fishing on the lake at this place with so-and-so, or I want to go to the park and I want to do it. And, places that not you're going to Disneyland and flying around the world. What are you going to do that's reasonable? What do you want to do with your loved one when you go home? So you start to dream about, and your loved one, incarcerated one, gets to hear about, that's their dream. And then we get to hear, well, what's your dream? What do you want to do? What do you want us to do for you when you go home? So now everybody is talking together. And what I didn't share is, before this whole thing starts, I always do mixers. So if people show up early, I don't want them just hanging around. So we do mixers where they get to know each other. And oftentimes I'll say, if you are from, find somebody that's from your hometown. So I find all the people from Albuquerque that are here, and I say, okay, now start talking to them. Maybe you can carpool the next time you go to visit at the prison. If it's 5 hours away, maybe the 2 of you could drive and take care of the kids. One's driving and one's watching the kids or something. It's a way to start building community and support and helping. Yeah. So, and then of course, sometimes we spoon hang. So you probably didn't ever spoon hang in prison. Well,
No, not.
Oh yeah. Well, we do, and here they are being in a prayerful position. I love to get that prayerful position. And then they do the hokey pokey, and it's amazing what you have to do to get that spoon to fall off your nose. And we make up all these silly little plaques that we give out to the child, a child age whatever, and a teen, and an adult, and an inmate, and a volunteer, and if prison staff get involved, we do one for prison staff too. The idea is to have fun together, because when do you ever go to prison and have fun and build positive family relationships? And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And then, of course, it's bringing dads and children together. Now, I always like, when I'm on the outside in a church, and I say, if you saw this head out on the street, what would you think?
Yeah, you think gang member, MS-13, something member, like that. Yeah,
drug dealer. Yeah, afraid. Oh,
bad guy. Walk. On? Yeah, go the other way. Yeah.
And yet, what is he? He is a father. And when you teach him to act and be a father, it changes everything. And it changes how they behave in prison, because then they want to go home and they want to be dad again. They don't want to be that inmate, that tough inmate. And this is an example, and I love this picture. This was one family. If you could imagine, all of these people were allowed in for that one inmate, that the guy in the back with that dark navy, royal blue kind of, dark.
I see him. So that they're all for him. Wow.
They are all there for him. They allowed all of those family members in. When you visit in a prison, now some prisons are very strict and they only allow in a certain number, but this particular prison allowed all those people in. Imagine that man feeling that support from all.
That's a lot of love. That's a lot of love and support. Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
I'll bet you he cried all night when he got back to his cell. Yeah.
And for days afterwards. And I bet they all did too.
Yeah.
And they never could have come to visit and sit and laugh and play, decorate, put on costumes, create, make cookies and Cheerio necklaces and cards and do some kind of silly game at the end and create that positive memory. Because normally visiting in prison, we visited for my husband in prison for 6 years, and I can't say that any visit was nice. Did we love being with him? Yes. But it was always uncomfortable. You always had those long lines, stand in there. And then we're waiting on count to clear, and you're waiting and you're outside. And then you got an officer over, you be quiet, you can't talk to each other. And then you got me with 4 boys. I mean, visiting in a prison, are you kidding? 4 little boys. And they all wanted to run wild. And I had no money. And now they have to eat out of a vending machine. And what are they eating? I can't say, now go get something healthy out of a vending machine. There's nothing healthy there.
And even those machines are expensive. 4 kids, that's going to cost you $50 right there,
Oh, well, I brought in 1 roll of quarters. That's all $20 for me. I had no money for a couple of years. And as youth director, I made $800 a month. And then to go visit in prison and gas and hotels.
Oh, yeah. And hotel, everything that goes with that.
Oh, my gosh. Outrageous. So anyway, okay. So that's what a family day looks like. Okay. So now, so then I decided when my book came out, and I said, okay, I need to create a program to help other people. So I called it Wings for Life, and the life stands for life skills imparted to families through education. Because I realized I was a college graduate. I had won all kinds of awards. I had been Phi Beta Kappa. I had been homecoming queen, Miss Michigan pageant. I had won all kinds of awards. It didn't matter what kind of award I had won. I was now the scum of the earth. And now I describe being a wife of an inmate this way. I'm using airplane analogy because for me, it was like I was dropped out of an airplane late at night, landed somewhere, didn't know where I was. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't know the language, so I couldn't talk to anybody because I didn't even know the language. I looked funny to everybody because they didn't want to be around me or my boys. And I really felt like I was this leper of lepers. And that's truly how I felt.
Now you don't feel that way today, do you?
Oh no, but this is 30 some years later.
Right.
It went on for many years. My first husband and I divorced. We were together 28 years. The last 4 after he got out of prison. But still, before our divorce, he had been out of prison for 6 years, and then it was 4 years later. I was still crying about when I had to tell somebody about having a husband in prison.
Sure.
Years after we were divorced, even it was still that traumatic for me.
Yeah,
I didn't want to tell anybody. It was too painful.
No, it's a shame. It's a guilt that you got inside, and it's I understand.
Yeah, I always felt like I had this neon light across my forehead. Wife of an inmate, and that everybody knew. So anyway, I started this program.
Okay.
So we teach manners. Now, I was a mother of 4 boys. I did training for Continental Airlines. I was a flight attendant. So people in first class, they know manners. So we have to teach manners. I was youth director at a church. Oh my gosh, we really needed to teach manners to all those kids. And of course, my own 4 boys. So we teach manners because I don't want people to be embarrassed. I want to empower them. I want to teach them things. Okay, then we're going to teach them life skills. First thing I always teach is how to shake a hand. You don't give that wimpy handshake. Firm but nice. So when people are going on to the work world, they are prepared for how to do a handshake. But we teach them, where does a name tag go? It does not go on your breast. It goes high on your shoulder area so people can see it, but not in an inappropriate part of your body. We teach so many life skills. Then we are going to discuss over dinner, and I'm going to show you some pictures of that. And then we do group mentoring. Originally, I thought I was going to do one-on-one mentoring, but I found out that no one in 2 years wanted to be a one-on-one mentor to a child of a prisoner. Yeah, I think it was just too scary to them.
Yeah, you like kind of a big brother program to a child of an inmate or something. I could see that would be scary for the child. Yeah.
Well, not the child. It's for the mentor. I could not find a mentor. Oh, I had tons of kids. I couldn't find a mentor. And I finally gave up and said, when I was youth director in the church, I didn't do one-on-one mentoring either. I let people naturally find their mentors. We have our regular volunteers that come all the time. So I call it group mentoring. If I'm not there that night, guess what? Other people are there.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
can't build a relationship. I can't sit and eat dinner with the same people every night. But other volunteers can, and they could get to know those kids and those families, and then they become that group mentor for that particular family.
All
So
right.
we do group mentoring, and then in the middle of it, of course, is heart and love, because if we don't have love, what good is any of this? But then I put in the middle of this, I put something that is inside so many of our children and our families, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And one of them for every child of a prisoner is having a loved one incarcerated. That is an ACEs right out there. It's a huge ACEs. Then if you've ever had any addiction in the family, a lot of people going to prison, addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any trauma? Did you have any physical, sexual abuse, emotional abuse of any kind? Oftentimes with incarceration, that was part of the family history. Did you have any food insecurity? Did you ever worry about where the food is going to come from? Well, all of these things add up to ACEs. And now with COVID going on, every youth in America can add one ACE for sure. Oh, and then another big one is divorce. Over half of American families are divorced.
Yes. Yes.
So you start throwing these ACEs in there. I've already listed some that are very, very common for families, and you only have to have 3 or more, and you've got a child really at risk. So that means all of our children are at risk. So if we don't recognize the ACEs, not to dwell on them, but recognize our audience has ACEs, how are we going to now strengthen them and rebuild some of the things that they didn't have in their lives? So this is how we do it. Oh, here are some statistics next. Okay. And these are just important. 1 out of every 2 Americans will have an immediate family member in jail or prison. These are current statistics.
That's scary.
It's
That's
horrifying.
scary. Yeah.
Horrifying. Children of inmates have the potential of ending up in prison, at least 72%. And about 2.5 weeks ago, I was on a federal call with national corrections leaders, and somebody there reported it had gone to as high as 83%. I don't have that in writing, but I always ask this question, and I'll ask you, Sean, and you should ask it every inmate you ever talk to. How many of anybody, a church audience, a school audience, prison audience, how many of you want your kids to go to prison?
Oh, no, nobody
I
does.
have never had a hand go up anywhere in the world, anywhere.
Yeah.
No one wants it. But if you don't want it, what are you going to do to prevent it? If we know at least 72%, now I have 4 boys, 3 of my 4 boys should be in prison right now with those statistics. So what are we going to do about it? So I'm going to teach you what we do about it, but we have to get through these statistics. Then look at bullet number 5 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, bullet number 4. Currently, 1 in 3 adults have a criminal conviction that impacts employability and their future. 1 out of 3 adult Americans? It's true.
Well, I know there's a lot of DUIs and things like that, so that probably comes into play, right?
It does.
Sure.
So when you're talking to somebody and they say, I can't get a job, well, 2/3 of our workplace, I mean, we have more than 2/3 of Americans working. That means a lot of people with records are working. They can get a job, but how are you going to deal with how are you going to get that job because of that? So they can't say, well, no one's going to hire me because I have a record. No, 1 out of every 3 adults have a criminal record. There are a lot of people working, so you will be able to get a job. Then you can go down to some of these other horrible statistics about 1 out of 3 African Americans, Hispanics. And of course, we all know the US has 5% of the world's population, almost 25% of the world's prisoners. And then the thing that I always like to highlight is about 95%, at least 95%, some states and some federal or state, whatever, it's higher than that, are going to come home. Now, if they're going to come home, how are they going to come home? Are they going to come home the loving dad that got to see their loved ones and put on angel costumes in a prison, even though they're a member of a gang, or are they
Right.
going to come home hardened even more and a better criminal? And as you know, too many inmates come out and they have gotten a PhD in criminality.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and we
I,
don't want that.
I
So
mean,
we're going to try to
fortunately
teach.
for me, I went to a camp. It's not as it wasn't bad like that, but most people aren't as lucky as me. They go to these penitentiaries, these mediums, where it's a warehouse for they learn new crimes while they're in there, new
That's right.
schemes and plans, and they get out, and now they're angry too, and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So 95% are going to get out. How are they going to get out? So my husband was a camp, so he had the same similar probably experience of you. Very few people are in those camps, and those are in the federal systems. We don't have camps in the state systems. We have lower levels, but none of them are like a camp, I'll tell you.
Right, right.
So anyway, our Wings for Life program that I'm now going to describe for 14 years, and of course last year we couldn't do it because of COVID, we've had a 4% recidivism rate. And the national recidivism rate is 83%.
Yeah, I've heard the national one. I didn't know yours was 4%. Wow, that's
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
and 83%. This is a 9-year study from the Department of Justice. 9 years, 83% of inmates that get out go back. Now, how horrifying is that? That's the
Yeah.
last thing, Sean, you ever want to have happen.
It's a
And no one
revolving
wants
door.
it to happen.
It's a life sentence with a revolving. It just in parts. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and then we're proud to say, because of course, one of the problems is if you don't progress to the next grade and you're dropping out of school, well, then of course that leads to incarceration. So all of our youth who have attended at least 10 times for the past 14 years, if they've come 10 times to our meeting in a calendar year, they've progressed to the next grade, and we've never had any pregnancies with any of our girls either.
Oh yeah, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because of the way and what we're teaching. So now I'm going to get into some of these things. So we teach money, we teach work, and along with work is jobs, work, job, school issues. Because what is a child's job? Their job is to go to school. That is their job. Help around the house and go to school and do the best that you can at school, because that's going to lead to your job and what kind of work environment are you going to be in. We teach family parenting classes, family communication, and some of the topics that we address are there. And then, of course, we always address issues that are specific to incarceration. So we're going to bring in judges. We're going to talk about making the most out of a prison visit. That's a big chapter in my book. I had to think about it after all those years of visiting, and how was I constantly trying to make it more meaningful and better, and phone calls, and emergencies. How do you deal with all these things? Holidays. I've got a huge chapter in my book about holidays, and we always address holidays because holidays are difficult. How are we going to work with the loved one? What can we give the loved one? What can they do for us? How do we go visit? I always say, do not visit on a major holiday. That's the one day of the year that you might get a special meal. And Christmas tinsel in a visiting room is going to look the same the day after Christmas or Christmas Day. And if you're teaching your kids that you go to prison on Christmas, well, that's their family tradition. Is that what you
Oh,
want?
right.
Yeah,
That
see,
makes
nobody
sense.
ever thinks about it. The inmates always say, well, I want my family to be there on Christmas. I said, is that really what you want? Do you want your children to think that every Christmas in their life, well, we go to prison, so I guess we better go to prison. I'm an adult. I guess I better be in prison because that's what our family does. No, that's not what you want to teach.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I ask you a
and
quick
so
question about children? Do you know how many children end up in foster homes because the parents are in prison? Have you looked into
it's a
that?
huge number, huge number. But
Oh,
here is something else. A lot of people, when they're incarcerated, they don't ever tell that I've got 4 children at home.
okay.
Because they want their sister or grandma or their auntie or somebody to be raising these children. And they're afraid of, especially for the women, that they're going off to prison and their children then are going to go to a foster care system. So oftentimes when women get arrested, they won't even say, I've got children at home, because they want to keep it undercover. But then here's what's bad about that. Then grandma, who is raising these kids, can't collect any kind of financial support for them, can't even legally take them to a hospital for an emergency
and
visit.
they can't claim them as a dependent on their taxes
Not
for
a
the
dependent,
for
not
the earning.
anything.
Wow.
Yeah, so then they dip farther into a financial problem because they have not been claimed legally. But the ladies are afraid the state's going to take my children. So this becomes a huge issue too. So it's estimated that at least 85% of female inmates are mothers, but it's probably higher than that because they don't all claim their children.
Wow.
So again, see all of these things that we have to talk about. And then the homecoming. Now, it took me 4 years after my husband came home. I said we were together for 4 years before we ended up in divorce. And a prison chaplain told me while he was in there, he said, well, I would estimate 98% of marriages fail before or during. I said, well, it's not going to be mine. And it wasn't. And then he said, of that 2% that make it all the way through to somebody coming home, he said, I would estimate that ultimately 98% of those marriages are going to fail. I said, well, it's not going to be mine.
Right.
Well, guess what? It was me. And what I found out is, and I have a whole workshop that I do, and it's on our all of these topics. We've got all of these things covered by experts, and I do some that I think that are personal to me. Like the homecoming, I always like to do the homecoming workshop because I was so ill prepared for his homecoming. I kept thinking, he's coming home. He's coming home. Everything is going to be okay. My husband even got his pilot's license back. Now, convicted felons aren't supposed to get their pilot's license back. He did. I don't know what that's all about. I'll never know. He got it. But then a month later, he had a heart attack. So then he lost his first class physical, so he couldn't fly. So then he couldn't go back to what he was doing before. So he had become a different person. I had become a different person. And so here was this disastrous situation sitting there. And we both thought our marriage was so strong. Everybody thought that, one pastor friend of mine said he thought that my husband hung the moon the way I talked about him. I thought he did hang the moon. And yet our marriage fell apart because we were just too different. And
yeah, you didn't know each other anymore. You had to cover the role as father, mother, enabler, breadwinner. All these roles, and your children had to step. Your children had to grow up, and they, the younger one, the older one takes care of the younger. Yeah, and then here he gets out of prison. He gets out of prison. I have arrived. Let's put everything back to normal. No. You don't just show up and after the storm and think you can just everything is hunky dory. And and whatever he's changed while he's in there, you've changed. You guys have grown in your own ways, and then you get the two together. Like I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's a chapter in our book called "The Family Afterwards." So when the alcoholic finally gets sober and he goes to rehab and all that, now he comes home and all of a sudden he wants to go to work and be a breadwinner again, and the wife's been, caretaking him and enabling him through all the roles have changed. He comes home and he thinks everything's going to be great, and it's not. It's the same thing with the addict and the alcoholic. They go get recovered. Oh, good, you got your help, but you know what? You left me high and dry. I didn't get no help. That's great. You got help. Oh, good for you. But now I'm here, and it's kind of how you feel, right?
Oh, thank you. You've said it all. I mean, and I was not expecting that. He came home. He was either daddy big bucks. He thought he had all the money in the world, but he didn't. Sure. He was used to living on a 747 international airline captain. He came home penniless. He took my one and only credit card. I was living on $800 a month. He took my one and only credit card.
Yeah, tell this story.
All this stuff.
Yeah, tell this story to them. I've heard this one, but this is a good story. Tell them. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, he went out and he bought, in those days, boom boxes were real popular. And he bought not one boom box. Oh, no, they all had to have their own boom box. And he went out and bought all these clothes. And so by the time I had come home, the boxes were torn apart. all assembled in their rooms. They're closed, the tags cut off. They're wearing all their new clothes. Of course, they had been using, thrift store and yard sale clothes for the past 6 years while he was in prison.
Right.
And he had charged over $1,200 on my credit card. It took me several years to pay that off with those high interest rates. I was just sick. I couldn't believe it. And so I try to tell people that we have to date again. I was married to this man, but I didn't know him. We knew each other. We knew our history, but we didn't know who we were today. And so you have to come home and you have to get to know each other. You have, and he had to, and he didn't respect our rules. Because he was dad, he was the airline captain. I'm coming home. These are my rules now.
Yeah.
He didn't listen to how we had survived for the past.
It's not his house anymore. He's lucky you let him even in. He's lucky you let him in.
I talk about he's an honored guest coming home, an honored guest. But what do honored guests do? They act like an honored guest, a guest. They have to earn the right to be in the home again, even if they paid for the house. It doesn't matter. Somebody had to care for it the whole time that they were gone, pay the bills, mow the lawn, take care of everything. And so the homecoming is just huge. It's just huge. And I had no idea. And no one prepares inmates for the homecoming except us that I'm aware of, because
they don't. We're warned a little bit, but nothing like you said. They're warned a little bit, but they don't even want to hear it, and they don't want to believe it. When I get back, I'm going to make everything better. Well, you made everything worse, so I don't know how you're going to make it better when first you made it worse, but
Yeah. So anyway, we address all those issues in depth. When I started Wings for Life, I didn't want people to sit around and cry. Okay, now Anne's husband just got arrested, so we're going to sit here and try to comfort Anne and platitudes, and it's going to be okay. No, it's going to be difficult. So we're going to teach you, okay, you're not going to have any money. I didn't have any money. How did I stretch $1 in order to make it? Okay, how am I going to how are we going to deal with the school teachers? And talk about dad in prison. What are we going to do about that? How am I going to be a single disciplinarian? It's different parenting a single parent versus you're parenting because somebody's in prison, because you still have that additional father or mother that is part of that picture. If they're divorced, then it's a different scenario.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're not co-parenting anymore. You're individual parenting. But when somebody's in prison, it should be a co-parenting. How are you doing that? So all of these issues. So here is what we teach. So this is down to the bulk of how are we going to teach people things. So Search Institute is out of Minneapolis, and I've worked with them for, 40 years, I think. And so they teach something called the 40 developmental assets. So every week at our meetings, we're going to teach people how to build these assets. So here is a list of some of these things, and I'll get into more detail.
Wow, there is 40, huh? Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, there are 40. So let's go back to that list for a second. So key ones for support: family support, positive family communication. How are you doing that with the inmate, and how are you doing on the outside? Other caring adults. Remember I talked about that group mentoring. Right. So the adult needs to know they're more caring people. Is it a teacher? Is it a coach? That's why it's so important to get the kids involved in other things. A caring neighborhood. It doesn't have to physically be your little geographic block in the neighborhood. Are you finding a neighborhood? Can you come to Wings for Life and feel comfortable? Can you go to a church and feel comfortable? Can you go to a soccer team and feel accepted and comfortable? That a caring neighborhood where they experience people that care about them. Is the school an encouraging environment? And then, okay, now I'm going to go to bigger things. So 20 of these things are external: support, empowerment, boundaries and expectations, and a constructive use of your time. So we're going to teach people how to do that. And we're going to share and learn from each other. Well, what do you do? We're going to give people ideas. And then, well, what else do you do?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Then the internal sides of these things, a commitment to learning. Young people, but all of us, do we have a commitment to learn and better ourselves? Positive values, do we know what the positive values are, and how are we going to learn those things? Social competencies, how are we going to learn to interact with others? That's why eating around the dinner table and the manners and all of these things. And how do you cope with new situations? And do you have a positive identity? I went into an Ohio prison right before COVID. And I said, we were doing a family day and there were like 80 men there and all their families were going to come the next day. And I said, how many of you have a positive view of the future? 2 hands went up. Two hands. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, well, at the end of tomorrow, I want every hand to go up because I want you to have a positive view of the future. There is something to live for. This is not the end of your life here.
Thank you for saying that. That's a message I always tell my viewers. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Your life's not over. It's just a chapter in the book. Chapter 22. Wait till you see chapter 23. You get to write that.
That's right. And chapter 40, because you've got even more.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there are a lot of wonderful things. So those are the key areas out of the 40 developmental assets. Now, how do we teach it? So I'm a game player. So if I gave you 40 cups, those represent each of the 40 cups. And I said, build a pyramid as a group, as a team, everybody has to participate, build something that will stand by itself, that you think is fairly strong and that you're proud of. Well, This is what they built. Okay.
Okay.
Now this group, oh boy, I only gave them 12. And then I said, well, yeah, some of them are saying, hey, it's not fair. You didn't give me as many. No, life sometimes isn't fair. I didn't give you as many, but how do you feel about what you did? Oh, I feel pretty good. Hey, we're almost as tall as that other one. Now this group, oh my gosh, how many people do we know that are given a bunch of cups? They had 20 cups, but you know what? The time ran out. They couldn't get the game together. The cups all fell on the ground. They're kind of laughing. We've failed. What are we going to do? So then I talk about the wins of life. So what are wins of life? Well, Sean, you've had a whole bunch of wins of life in your life. You, at one point, were probably successful. You ended up going to prison. Now you're out. Now you're starting another win of life. You're starting, a podcast here. Is anybody going to listen? Is anybody going to pay attention? Is it a positive win? Yeah, but it was pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to meet new people to put them on and answer the questions and all these things. So there are always wins of life. But okay, so loss of job or getting a new job.
Yeah, no, I've been laid off because of the pandemic. I'm on unemployment. Place I was working for, they're closed now. So yeah, this pandemic affected me.
That was a win of life that really kind of knocked you down, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just when I thought I was, gonna be all right, out of prison, got a decent job, and things are looking good, and you never know what life's gonna throw you.
No, those wins of life are constantly coming. Positive, negative, moving, accidents. Oh my gosh, I got a car. Yay, I got a car, but oh no, I had a flat tire. Oh no, somebody ran into me. Oh no, it was totally destroyed. I got to get a new car. Wins of life. Okay. Yeah. Marriage. Hey, I'm getting married. Oh, I was
going to get married before I went to prison, and when I got indicted, she left, and that that ruined that, and that was going to be my first marriage. And anyways, all these things, and you've got death. So you've got death, and then you've got incarceration. I see that. Yeah.
And then we've got incarceration. So now, why are these wins important? Okay, let me go back before I get to that one. So if I am one blow of a wind of life, what do you think happens when I get one blow on this pyramid?
One blow could knock it all down, right?
No, I don't have enough air to knock all that down.
It's strong, yeah. It looks strong. So you tell me.
I get about half over. Okay. That's all I can get, really. Because I blow probably about where the 3 cups are to try to, start at the foundation. But if I start at the bottom, I wouldn't probably get anything over because it's too solid.
You're right there. You're right there. Yeah,
okay.
I would.
Now what this group now your answer is right. With these 12 cups, I can knock them right over. They go flying. Now this group, They're already knocked over. So what happens to this group?
Well, they've already given up before they even tried.
Well, exactly. But then here's what happened when the winds of life come, they knock those cups and they're on the floor.
Wow.
Now, if we were going to start this game again, and I said, everybody start with the cups where you got them, and you've got now 30 seconds to build your pyramid again, those folks would have to be crawling around on the ground under the table. They can't even get started because they're not even at the level playing field. How many people do we know that don't even have a cup on the ground to get running, to get started in the game of life?
Right, right.
Is this starting to make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So then this group, now I was going table to table to table. And I'd done this for many years, and this group got smart. And they put their hands out there. Now, the rule was you couldn't touch the cups, but I didn't say anything about putting hands around
Oh,
it.
that's smart. Yeah.
Very smart. And I took this picture and I had this aha moment. Oh my gosh, that's what we do. We teach people to block the winds of life.
Oh.
They only had 6 cups in this group,
Oh.
but
They have each other helping, and yeah.
Exactly. And you know what happened? I didn't knock over one. So they didn't lose everything. And then I like to explain that am I going to build a whole cup of family support, a whole cup of other caring adults, a whole cup of a positive view of the future? No. But am I going to build a little piece of all 40 of these? And every time you come, and we're going to build more and more and more and teach you how to build more and more and more and teach you to be prepared, because the job issues are going to come up, right?
Right, right.
Relationship issues are always going to come up, good and bad, good and bad. You might meet the woman of your life. I hope you do. I bet you do, Sean. And I bet you get married to the woman that you'll be living with the rest of your life. But be prepared. Get your eggs in a row. I call them get your cups in a row. Get your cups in a stack. So you're building a foundation for support. So does this make sense to you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now, okay. Oh wait, let me go back. Okay. Now here is what's really scary. You must have 30 or more of these assets or 30 of those cups to cut at-risk behaviors. And guess what? No community in America had the kids in mid and high school, because that's where they test them, tested higher than 20. So that tells us our entire country is at risk. And that's why incarceration is so out of control, because people don't have these things. But is that the end of the story? No. So we are going to teach, how are you building these things? So the first one is family support. So if I said, how do you build family support? And I just, without that screen there, and I said, Sean, how do you build family support? You'd probably put your eyes down and say, oh, Ann, don't call on me. I don't want to answer. I don't know if I'm going to answer the right way, because what's the teacher looking for? But if we say, now look at this list, eat at least one meal together, limit television watching, read to your children, provide a positive learning environment in your home, state and discuss your value. If we listed all those things, and then we said, well, now Sean and everybody else around the table, now what else do you do at home that builds family support? Are we going to get tons of ideas? Yes.
Yeah, that kind of opens up the gateway. Like, yeah, we could take trips together. We could go to the movies. We could take a walk in the park together. We could build something together. You know, we could do chores together, things like that. Sure.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So see, we give them examples, and then we say, now what else can you do? And then we share with everybody, hey, well, Sean had a great idea here. Let's add this one. Oh, Ann had another great idea. Let's add that one. Okay. So then, and we do special meetings. So this one is kind of fun. I like to show this one because Dr. Seuss and Cat and Reading and Cat in the Hat, because the current reading level in our prisons now has gone down to a 3rd grade reading level. It used to be an 8th grade level. I don't know if you've seen any of the latest prison Bibles. They are written at a 3rd grade reading level.
Are they really? Wow, no.
Yes,
wow.
They are. Yeah. Yeah. So reading is so important. So we're going to teach kids to read. So then we provide placemats. So I know it's really small, but I'll tell you some things that are on here. So we're going to teach manners. So remember, we're going to teach dinner manners, but we're also talking about books. We got manners about books. So when you go to a library or you go to your school library, manners about books, return them. Be quiet in the library. We're going to teach the manners. So if you go to the library for the first time, you learn, okay, what is expected? So you don't go in and, hey, buddy, across the library and yell at them. No, you know some of the manners that are expected. Then we're going to give reading is fun, tips for raising a reader from the National Education Association. So again, we're going to give them ideas. Visit your local library, check out local bookstore. At the library, get your child, let them pick books. Create an incentive program for them. See if the library has incentive programs. There's a whole list of things here. And then over dinner, we're going to give you some things to talk about. So over dinner, share some of your favorite books. So everybody can go around the table. So somebody says, well, I like The Cat in the Hat. And somebody else, grandma says, well, I like to read the Bible. And somebody else, well, I like romantic stories and I like history. And we're going to talk about reading, to encourage reading. And then we give people things to talk about. So every week, we are going to create a placemat, which is a lesson plan for the evening. So they have a takeaway piece of paper that, oh, no, let's see. We were supposed to get the kids to read. What can I do again as a parent to help our kids read? Oh, it's right here. And then they could go home and then they've got something to refer to talk about. So pertaining to the particular lesson. We also, after dinner, we offer tutoring and reading because, again, that's so important. So anybody, bring your homework and we'll have volunteers there that will work with you and your kids and try to help. Reading to the dogs. We have people that bring in their dogs and the kids get to read. And this is a really powerful tool because kids don't like to read out loud in school. You know, it goes around the circle and now it's your turn to read and they don't want to read. They can't read. And then you mispronounce that word. You said it wrong. Well, a dog is not going to say, hey, Sean, you said that word wrong.
Right.
But they're starting to interpret it and get the love of looking at a book and what do those pictures tell the story and let the child make up the story. Then as you introduce it, you can say, oh, that's the word for dog. Hey, see, every time you get to that thing, point to the word dog in the story. Then they start to recognize the word dog. And so it's not being so critical about the reading. So reading to dogs is really a great thing to do. Karate, we've got a 9th degree black belt guy who volunteers and he teaches karate. And it's not about how can we punch somebody out, it's how do you carry yourself and how I've just learned so many tricks from him. I can't even tell you about how he's not a very tall man, but he's a 9th degree black belt, but he gives lessons to the kids. And so, yeah, there are some stances and some of the things that he's teaching, but he's really teaching how do you feel carry power within yourself. So if you are bullied at school, is it really worth getting into a fight with somebody? No, you're going to know some karate. You could really get them. But no, we're not going to do that.
You remember the movie The Karate Kid?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, it's more than just self-defense. It's
absolutely. And that's what he really teaches. And he's just and he's such a gentle man and he's just such a wonderful man. And so karate. We bring people out and we pick up the neighborhood. So we always participate in, it's called Keep Albuquerque Beautiful and then Make a Difference Day. And so we go out, that was probably 20 minutes of picking up trash. So we got t-shirts from the city and here's our team that went out. The rest of the team was in the kitchen and setting tables and things. But we went out for 20 minutes, we divided it up, had a game. And of course, then we gave books away to the kids who brought in, every kid that went out and helped got a book. But then it was like, hey, who got the biggest bag of trash? And then we always hear afterwards, boy, I'm never throwing anything out again. I don't want to have to go pick up that trash because it's not so much fun when you're out by yourself.
Yeah.
But as a team effort, and then they're really proud of themselves that look what we did for the meeting site that allowed us to meet here. So we like to do that and teach people to give back. We do after dinner tutoring with the kids, all kinds of, different activities so they can be creative and they can do things. Now helping. I love that picture with the little girl with the plastic gloves up past her elbows. She was an 18-month-old and she wanted to help mom set the table. So we gave her a paper plate and she'd reach up and put it on the table was above her eye level, put it up and the mom would arrange it over the placemat, put the plate down. She wanted to help everybody. Remember our rule in the prison, treat him as a child of God. The secular rule on the outside is we treat everybody with respect, and we find a way for everybody to participate. We don't want somebody showing up with their phone and being on their phone all night. No, come and help us, help make the salads, help in the kitchen, help bring everything out. You feel part of it then. Now it's a we mentality, not an us and a them mentality. We're not the good guys that dishing out the food at the home, the shelter. We're the ones sitting around the table talking and sharing and eating and learning together. There's no one better or worse. We're all equal. We are all there. We are all special, in my mind, children of God. And so we're all going to respect each other. So we listen to the little ones, we listen to the older ones, we listen to each other, and we have the questions to refer to. So if somebody's new and, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk to these people about? We give them things to talk about. We always have donated clothing. It looks like we have a yard sale every week. So people give us things. So then we tell people and we teach, and I'll get to a slide in a second, how to teach them what to do. So here is our back to school fashion show. So these are pieces of clothing that they've picked out, that they feel good about wearing, that they've taken home and washed and ironed, because once you cut the tag off something, does it matter how much you paid $100 at the store, you got it for free at Wings, who cares? I haven't had new clothes in over 30 years. All my clothes are secondhand or thrift stores or something, or yard sales. And so here are our models for that week. And so they're all proud of their clothing that they picked out. And so they get to do this little fashion show and talk about why they picked it out and why they feel so good in it. If somebody feels good in something and it's appropriate, it's not, breasts hanging out and, short skirts that, aren't appropriate or something, and we teach how to dress for job interviews and things like that, well, people feel good. And then they feel good about picking out used clothing because they know that they've taken it home, washed and ironed it. It's new to them. Who cares how many other people wore it? They don't know who wore it. And so it doesn't matter. Collaboration, of course, we collaborate with everybody. And now when we get back in person, we're working with our juvenile office, and they're going to send juvenile offenders to our program. And if they come 5 times, only 5 times, they're going to close their case, because they know that we're going to do more than a probation officer.
They say that again now? They're going to close their case?
Close their case.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. If they come 5 times. Yep. And so we're really excited about that. We're starting a new project. We haven't found the location yet, but I'm going out next week to look at a possible site. We're calling it Wings Works, where we're going to put returning citizens and anybody else to work. And you can see all that clay pottery craft things. We've got angels and boxes on either side, and then some of the pictures with paper things inside of them. One of our volunteers has had a 35-year business providing Southwest crafts to stores all over the Southwest.
Okay.
And she's going to give us everything, teach people how to do it. And you know how creative inmates are. So we're going to first teach them how to do this, then learn how to market it, go through some job training. So if they get out in the workplace, they are equipped and ready. But if they want to start their own business, how are you going to do it? And then if they have a product that they want to start having us introduce to her buyers, well, then we'll do that. And we'll have our website as a place to market all of this material too. So we're really excited about the potential of this. We haven't started it yet, but it's in the works.
There are quite some creative artists inside those prisons.
Oh my gosh.
The artwork that they create is just, some of it's amazing. That's a great place. That's a great resource for them when they get out. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's you looking at the gifts that God has given somebody. You are so creative. My gosh, let's put that into positive work. Let's make some money off of that, so you can be successful. Also, we're working with the solar company, and we're working with some of the prisons now, trying to get training in the prisons, and we're going to hire a job advocate, somebody to be an advocate not only for the returning citizen, but also an advocate for the company, because when people get hired at this Positive Energy Solar at $40 an hour, they can't afford to get somebody that, oh yeah, they're making big bucks.
Wow.
But they can't, but they can't have somebody that now goes back because, oh, the buddies they're all going out for a drink, and now we've got our alcoholic back drinking again.
Right,
And then,
right.
then they've lost out. So we're going to have this advocate that works both sides of the coin. So, and you can't talk to your PO if there's a problem at work. All the PO wants to know is you got a job. They
Yeah.
don't care that you're having trouble with the boss or with your supervisor. So we're going to have this job advocate go to the supervisor. Okay, is Sean showing up on time? Is there any problem here? Anything that we can help Sean with so he's successful here? Well, gee, Sean was late last week. Gee, Sean was been on the cell phone a lot. Maybe you could talk to him about it. So that kind of thing. That's what we're looking for, because we want to have people get quality jobs and stay there. It benefits the company and it benefits that returning citizen.
So you might, yeah, you kind of got to have your work ethics if you're gonna get a job. A lot of people don't have that coming out of prison.
No,
they don't.
they've never been taught it. So we're going to teach them those things.
And they don't. They don't know that there is no such thing as on time. It's you're early or you're late. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. Thank you. And we teach that, and you're always early. That's what you are. You're always early. And so we're all about connecting lives and building relationships. And thanks to you. And then here is my contact information. So if anybody wants to get in touch with us, everything that we do is free. On our website, which is, yes, I've got it there. Our Wings for Life International, or now we've shortened it to like my email to the wingsfly.org. That is another way to get to our website. But they can go and under the community education piece or under all of our videos. We've got all the videos that we have done now, all our Zoom videos. We did a TV program at the beginning of COVID into the summer because we couldn't meet in person. Now we're taping all of our programs. They're going on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, live Zoom. So everything is a free resource. So it sounds like you listed maybe to one of mine, maybe about the homecoming or.
I saw the homecoming and I saw part of another one, but I put all your information here under my description. So from now on, every video I put out, it's a permanent part of all my. I have links for resources, all kinds of resource links.
Oh wow! Thank
you.
So
I already put you on there yesterday. So anything forward. And then on this video, I'll put your website underneath if there's room there, or they got it here. But I'll have links and all that. So you know what I mean. And I got a few.
Yeah, so now I'm open to any questions you've got.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think it kind of helps to see the pictures instead of me talking about these
Yeah,
things.
yeah. No, that really helps. That really helps. But I mean, you covered a lot. I don't have a whole lot of questions yet, but there was a couple people that have contacted me the last 2 days, and I wanted to kind of briefly explain what's going on with them and ask you if I think you'd be able to help these people. So first, I got a guy named Robert who lives in New Mexico. I'm not going to give his last name because he sent me an email. Sure. Some people leave me comments, and that's open to the public. But Robert has a wife who's just about to start a 33-month sentence. So she's in she's in like the federal detention center now. They're going to ship her off to Texas to do 33 months. But So now Robert is kind of like you. He's the husband at home, and the wife's going into prison. And he reached out to me. I can imagine what he's going through. You just lost your wife to the prison system. And then she's got a warrant in New Mexico that he's afraid she might not go to the camp. They might hold her till that. It's not a big warrant, but it's he doesn't have money for a lawyer and all this, and he wants to know if there's any way they can run them concurrent, and he just got some problems like that. But he's going to be left alone. Well, he already is. She's locked up now. So and he's in New Mexico. I didn't ask what part of New Mexico, but would you be a resource for Robert to get through these next few years while his wife's incarcerated?
Oh, absolutely. And they don't have to live in New Mexico now because of our Zoom programming.
Okay.
We've had people all across the United States. Actually, we had somebody call from Hungary one night. And then our Liberian program is taking our program because that would be like 4 in the morning for them over there. So they're not going to be running it live over there, but they use our programming. So yes, he could join us live every single Monday night. Basically every Monday night, if it's a holiday, if it's Labor Day or Memorial Day or something like that, or 4th of July, we don't meet. But basically every Monday night, Mountain Time from 6 to 7 is what it is. We actually have inmates from the prisons that are actually interacting with us through Zoom. So questions can be brought up and can be asked. We bring in speakers every week to educate. So he would learn if he listened every week, he would learn all kinds of things.
Okay.
Now, if he has any children or any of your listeners that have children.
Yeah, I think he has kids.
Website,
I think he has kids. So.
Okay. Our children's director reads a story every week to go along with the lesson. So if you go to our website, you'll find a story that's read. So that would be somebody else reading a story every week. And one of our interns from working on our social work degree is from Colombia. And so she reads a story occasionally in Spanish. So we have Spanish read stories too. And then Phil, of course, is doing at least a 5-minute karate lesson every single week. And you could go back and play these things over and over again. So all of these things are free resources, and they are all found at our website. So, and of course, anybody could call me at any time, because this is really a ministry. And so I answer the phone if my cell phone is the best way to reach me.
Okay.
But however they call, I promise I'll call people back. That's one of my big things. I hate when people don't call me back. So I know. I will call you back. And okay. I don't work just 8 to 5. I work nights and weekends and everything else. Again, it's a ministry to me. And so anybody could call from anywhere at any time.
Okay, great. Let me ask you about another girl. I got a call right after I talked to you this morning. I got a call from a girl named Leanna. She's 25 years old. She lives in Texas, right? And she's about to get sentenced in 3 weeks, and she's looking at around 3 years in a federal camp. She is going to go to a camp, and she's going to get the RDAP, and she'll probably be out within 15 months. But she's 6 months pregnant, so. And I guess there's not a father, and I don't know what the deal is, what's going to happen to the baby, and who's going to watch her baby, and and she's just really scared, and so would I tell her family that's going to watch the baby for her while she's in prison? You'd be a great resource for them, right?
Absolutely. Now here, because of a federal prison, they have many more opportunities for her to be able to gather her milk. If the baby is going to be near wherever the prison is. And some facilities will let a baby stay for a short period of time. It depends on the prison. Federal is much more opportunity usually than the states, but again, it depends on the state. But now, I know in New Mexico, women can pump their breasts for their milk. I highly, highly recommend that. Number one, it's really good. And then the milk could be frozen, and then the family, the caregivers can come and pick up the milk. Now, it just depends, again, if that will be allowed, but I would definitely check into that. I help get that into our female prisons here in New Mexico, and also our big jail in Albuquerque. And why this is so good is, of course, it's absolutely the very best for the baby. The mom feels much more connected to the baby, and she is having an active role in the life of that young infant. And so not only for health reasons for the baby, but for the mom to feel like she's contributing, that she hasn't totally lost care, and that her love is coming out through at least her milk, if that's possible. So she should definitely check on that. Again, dealing with the prison system, what I found is you be very nice, and you offer the reasons why you would really like to be able to do this. And if they don't have that policy in the prison, could they possibly look into it? Of course, her family would have to be able to come and get that milk. And they
Right.
would have to be people that are listed on the visitation list, because you can't just have a total stranger come and
Okay.
pick up milk. That's not allowed. So
Yeah.
they've got to be very careful about what happens. But see, then again, that mom is going to be very, very careful. I'm going to stay totally clean. I'm not going to do anything that's going to taint that milk, because I don't want to hurt my baby.
Yeah. She is
Yeah.
going to a camp near her house. So, yeah.
Well,
And I
there's
have,
a good chance a camp, I would bet the federal system, I'm not up on all the federal system laws and what they're doing now, but I would guess she'd be able to pump her milk and have loved ones come and get it. I would say there's a good chance that could happen.
yeah. So I mean, I'm assuming the judge is going to delay her surrender date probably till after the baby's born. But they do have federal halfway houses for pregnant women, and she may get lucky and just be sentenced there. But I'll find
She
out more in
might,
a couple weeks. So I have
yeah.
other people like there's a lady named Brianna. She's gonna go to the Dublin federal facility here. She's got to do 4 years, I think, and so her husband's left again. Running the household and all that. You'd be a great resource for the husband, right? I mean, I don't know how many husbands you get where the wives are in prison. Is that what's the? It's probably more the husbands are in prison, right?
Oh my goodness. And here's what you need to do. You need to praise those men. I will praise those men. I would say when we do the family days in the prisons, if we get one husband, it's a miracle.
Oh,
We get the fathers, we get the brothers, but we usually don't get the inmate's father, not the father of the children.
right.
Rarely does the husband and or boyfriend, I'm talking that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Significant other, yeah.
that's right. Rarely does the man stay in the relationship. That's very, very rare. So that woman needs to really praise her husband and really encourage him and try to help him in every way possible, because she is going to be the rare one.
Yeah.
Very, very rare that the dad stays there and takes care of the children. That's extremely rare.
Well, I
So
know
those ladies are very lucky if they've
yeah,
got, the two stories
yeah.
that you already heard
It's
about.
starting to happen. I get a lot of women. I watch my show more, and they call me too, and because there's not a lot of help out there for women. Although I wish I had more resources for the women. But I my experience is in the federal system when in the camps. Anyways, any guy who's got a 5-year sentence or more, your wife she will not be there when you get out. Like you said, 98%. There was one guy that had an 8-year sentence. I know his wife visited him almost every weekend. He got out, and his wife was there waiting for him. Now that was 2 years ago, and I'll bet they're not. It may not have lasted. So if you have a 1-year sentence, maybe it's not so long that you're going to
Maybe,
shake up the family.
yeah.
It's better. You have better. Your odds go up. But 5 years or more, yeah, you're. And this guy Richard, his wife's doing a 33-month sentence, so I don't know what the odds are. Like you said, on the husband, when the husband waits for the wife. Yeah, but obviously he cares about his wife right now because he's getting a hold of me and he's really concerned about his
Yeah.
wife. So let's hope that stays. Yeah, time
Well, and
time
I will
changes.
then, it doesn't matter whoever the caregiver is. My job is to try to help encourage and support that caregiver,
Yeah,
because if they fall apart, the children are going to fall apart. And then we've got another generation coming along.
yeah,
And so we need to help strengthen whoever is at home with those children, and whoever is at home, period, children or no children, it's still hard. Whoever is that person left at home while somebody is incarcerated, it's a very difficult situation.
I had a question on children and cyberbullying. Kids today are their Snapchat, their Instagram, their Facebook, and then they get cyber bullied by the other kids. And it stays on there. Somebody puts them on Snapchat, and all the whole school knows. And even if you take the post down, it's still it's permanent damage. And how do you get these kids to do that?
Go to one and listen to one of our expert speakers on cyberbullying. He has traveled the world talking about this. He's an expert in schools and how this all works. I didn't have to grow up with this. My boys didn't grow up with that. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all this social media stuff that is out there today. And one thing that everybody needs to know is that whatever anybody puts on their cell phone, you think you erased it, you sold the phone, you cleared the phone, you think you did. No, it is there. Anything that goes in a text message. So the reason I'm saying this is because sex offenders, this is how come so many people are going to prison, and they cannot, when it's on your phone or on your computer, you could say somebody else did it. It's yours. You are responsible for your equipment.
Yeah.
And you are going to prison. It is a done deal. So first of all, you have to be really careful what you put on there, because it never goes away. You're exactly right. It's kind of like, the old written letter, you could tear it up and burn it, and then it's gone. Cyber stuff, if the FBI wants to get to it, the law enforcement wants to get to it, they will get to it. Lawsuits have been won on text messages 10 years ago, and technology wasn't so good 10 years ago. So anybody that doesn't realize the importance of everything that they put on the internet, and a phone, in any capacity, any of the social medias, it's always going to haunt you. Suicide for youth is skyrocketing.
Yeah, that teen suicide. It's big.
It is skyrocketing. In fact, we've got a speaker coming on at the May 24th. Two experts that lead big suicide prevention efforts here in New Mexico, but we try to bring in the best speakers. We've got talks already about suicide. These are serious issues. And when you throw in incarceration, everybody wants to bully the child of a prisoner. And then what happens is that then, like my boys, well, they're going to defend their dad. Who wouldn't? And so then somebody gets in trouble, and then two people are fighting, but one's my boy and he's the son of a prisoner. Well, who must have caused the problem? The son of the prisoner. So then he's labeled again. So then he gets shipped off. Then they get expelled from school, which is the dumbest thing going, because now they're being pulled out of the classroom, so they aren't learning.
Sure.
So now they're falling farther behind. It's just this perpetual cycle that just is
All
not
right, yeah.
healthy.
And now they're gonna go, and now they may hang out with the bad kids in the neighborhood and
That's
go break in a house for fun. It starts off like that, and now let's go
That's
steal
right.
from the liquor store, and the whole cycle starts, and they
That's
take
right.
and they
Yep.
Ah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Huge issues. So that's why all of these things, that's why those basic 40 developmental assets, we just find are so key, because if we could start instilling them and teaching people that you need these things in your life, and we want you to be successful in life.
Yeah.
And so constantly reinforcing this positive stuff, and we've got enough of the negative. Let's try to start teaching some of these positive ways of coping with all these things.
I see you stress teaching manners a lot. That's like a forgotten practice. It's nice. It's it's almost forbidden sometimes. But I'm glad you're bringing that back. Manners, are important.
Oh, they're key. They're key.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, we always do evaluations, all the time. And people always can comment. And when people come to us from halfway houses or whatever, I love their comments, because they always are going to say, what did you learn? I learned manners. Yeah. And I feel so good about it, because when you go to a social setting and what normal is expected, but then of course the first one that we teach is the host or hostess is always right. So if somebody's doing it that way, that is the right way in their home. So you're never going to question them.
True.
And if
True. That's their castle. Respect their rules.
That's their castle. That's right. And if they're using that fork, then you're going to use that fork, because that's their castle. They set that table and that's what they want. But if you're not sure what to do, look at what the host or hostess is doing and follow them. So you never start eating until they do, because you don't want to, heaven forbid, you do something wrong. But then also some of the things to do or not to do. And one I always love to teach, and I'll just share this here, because I just see people doing this all the time, and I think, I wish I could teach you. Do not wad up your napkin at the end of the meal. and throw it in the middle of your plate.
Oh
That
yeah,
is
that's
not,
disgusting.
it's disgusting. And think of it, I always say, think of it this way. Grandma hand crocheted these beautiful doily napkins, and you are having spaghetti. Would you take grandma's fanciest of napkins, wad it up and throw it in the middle of a plate of spaghetti? No, you would not. So that's how you remember not to throw your napkin in the plate. So I try to teach in really fun, maybe memorable ways that they'll remember that. But you're not going to say to somebody, hey, you did that wrong, you threw your napkin in the plate. No, that wouldn't be good manners either.
Yeah, they're not going to learn that way.
Not to do it.
Yeah, there's different ways to teach, and there's a right way,
Right.
a wrong way, and
Yeah.
yelling at somebody and pointing out, their faults. It doesn't teach us. Trust me, I've been to prison. They don't learn that way.
No, they don't learn that way. No, no. So we try to find the good. And I always equate this to our volunteers. A correctional officer is trained to look for what's bad. They're looking to protect everybody supposedly, and that's why they're looking for the bad. We're trained to look for the good. And when you look for the good, you're going to find the good. If you're looking for the bad, you'll always find something that's wrong. Maybe something isn't quite straight enough, or, whatever. But if you're looking for what's good, you're going to find something. And that's what we try to work with.
So, I had a bunch of notes I wrote down here, but I wrote the word butterfly effect and I circled it because you kind of opened my eyes the other day about how when an inmate's incarcerated, how it affects the family. Now, like I said earlier, my eyes are open somewhat, but you got them wide open now because I knew we hurt the loved ones around when we're locked up. I knew we hurt the family, and we put shame on them. And that's kind of as far as I thought it through. But you got me where, the neighbors are looking at you. You're where you go to work, when you go to the grocery store, but people read it, people pointing fingers, and your family, your side of the family. It's like, so I wrote butterfly effect because the day I decided to break the law, so I was doing false tax preparations, and I knew it was that one day when I filled it out, and I got a guy $1,500, and he said he'd give me 200, and I knew it was wrong, and I did it anyways. Changed all kinds of people's lives, not just mine. That's why I called it the butterfly effect. And my father died while I was in prison. I have a stepmother. They've been married 35 years. So she used to write me a letter every month while I was in prison, and we were kind of close. I get a letter after my father died from her lawyer saying she wants no contact with me. Do not visit. Do not call. We will put a restraining order on you. We will tell your probation when you get out if you attempt to come to the house. She also wrote off the rest of my dad's side of the family. Wants nothing to do with them. All because I went to prison. And when the letters, I found out that she was ashamed to have the letters from a prison come to her mailbox. Because she's who's
the mailman's going to see it.
Yeah, the mailman's going to see it.
Know. Yeah.
And yeah. And so all these people, and then my stepmother's side of the family is shaming her for her husband, who her stepson went to prison. It trickles all the way down, and so that's why I circled butterfly effect. So, people out there that are watching that, if you've made it this far in the video, please think about every move you make in life. The littlest decision you think. If you're out of prison and your buddies pull up in their car and he's drinking, or the guy's got a bag of dope on him, or they're just no good people, that. But you're gonna get in the car with them anyways to go pick up some girl or something or whatever it is they got involved. You open that door, you're gonna butterfly effect. And you just got out of prison, and you're gonna make a stupid mistake like that again, and a violation. And if you haven't been to prison and you just watch prison videos and all this stuff like that, think about every day, every decision you make can affect so many other people. And I just wanted to say
there's a study. Yeah, Sean, there's a study that says for every inmate, 33 to 38 immediate people are directly impacted by that person's actions.
Yeah.
So that I put that number when my husband was in prison to our U.S. population. That was bigger than our U.S. population. And I'm sure it is today too. And so that means every person in our country is somehow directly impacted by incarceration. And we are. Well, I mean, like my boys, they've grown up. They're all adults now. But filling out applications are always, one of my sons is a third, named after his father. Now, his grandfather was very well respected. Now, his father was this guy in prison, and now he's got to live with that name. He's had ramifications from that. Just our last name. It's not like Smith or Jones or Chavez. I mean,
Right.
we're Cowgill isn't your average everyday name either.
No.
And so your fiance, probably the pressure from her family, her people she worked with, everybody else, what are you doing with this guy? He's a criminal. Why are you going to hang around him? The pressure gets so hard and so difficult. And so sometimes it is just easier to walk away. It was very hard for me. I had, I could have dated a bunch of men. I could have probably married somebody and had a whole different life. I was hanging on to my husband, but unfortunately it never did work. Now, the sweet part of me is my Mr. Sweet that I finally married, and he is very sweet. I'm very thankful for that. And like I say, I know you'll find somebody too. And if
when God's ready, God,
that's right.
That's up to God. You know what I mean? I'm still working on getting my life, more solid.
But you're right. That simple little thing that you say, well, it's only $200. Oh, it's just a simple thing. Nobody's going to know. I always say, God knows. So can you, or are you going to go tell? I always say to my boys, are you ready to that decision? Are you going to come and tell me? Can you tell God? Can you tell me? If you can't, then you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
Yeah. But people, we all make mistakes. We all do the wrong things. Every day I probably go over the speed limit somewhere, somehow. I probably am breaking that law every day, doing something. So we do little things all the time, but is that is that our choice and our pattern to always break that law? Or are we going to try to choose the right way? It might be harder. Maybe we don't have as much money in the bank right now than going out and selling $1,000 worth of drugs today. But are we willing to sacrifice for who we are?
Yeah, I'm also in recovery, and I hear new guys in the meetings. Well, I'm the only one. I drink and do drugs, but I do that to me. I don't do that to you. You do
Right.
do
Right.
you do it to them. You don't get it, and they think, well, I don't have a wife and a kid, so who am I hurting? If I go get high, I'm not hurting anybody. You are.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
But you know that, and I know that. I don't know if you want to wrap it up, but if you would come back and we could do some other topics later on.
Anytime.
Okay.
Anytime.
Okay, because I'm
I
sure
could talk about a specific topic. We could just do a whole workshop. I've got PowerPoints for all these various things.
Okay.
I could go through it for you. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to talk to anybody because that's what I'm uniquely qualified.
Okay.
I've been through it. You're uniquely qualified. You're doing what you do. I'm now doing what I do. And if I can help one person have a better life, well, that's what it's all about.
Okay, so now I got some help and some hope for the families out there, which is you're just God sent you to me. He didn't send you to me, but he sent, you know what I mean. This is not my doing. This is not my doing. So I think I'll end this. Well, here I'm going to stop recording right now. And
well, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for helping so many people.
Okay. Any last message for anybody out there before I hit the stop record button?
Yeah, that's it. Call me.
Okay.
And they are not alone. The bottom line is they are not alone. There are multi millions of us around this world that have dealt with this, and together we can make change and make a difference in our lives. And there is hope. So that's the closing message.
Okay.